I talk a lot about how the changes to the recoil were a bad thing for Rust, how new players have a skewed idea of Rust's fundamental principles, and how cheaters have impacted the wasteland. But I bet you never expected a hardcore survival game to include pay-to-win elements. That's right, Rust is a pay-to-win game. This is a letter to the developers of Rust, an homage to OG Rust players, and my subjective opinion about what's objectively best for the survivors of this wasteland. I highly recommend watching to the end because I'm going to cover a pay-to-win element that I'm sure you don't expect to be under the pay-to-win umbrella. A lot of players have known this fact for a while, but Rust is a hardcore survival game with pay-to-win elements in it. But before I go over what those pay-to-win elements are and how they affect the game, I need to preface this by addressing the notes I can already see people leaving.
But sorbet, technically every game is pay to win. A faster, more clear monitor means you can identify your enemies better. A more responsive mouse means you have more precise aim. Blah 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 blah.
If I say pay to win, I'm referring to the aspects that go beyond the scope of being competitive. Of course, having a faster monitor will aid you in recoil control. But when I say pay to win, I'm referring to everything that goes beyond aiding the player in being able to compete fairly with purchases that aren't just a purchasable game and a top-of-the-line gaming rig. In other games, pay-to-win elements usually come in the form of time-saving boosts such as character leveling or easily acquirable items that give you leverage over your opponents. In Rust, however, pay-to-win comes in the form of skins.
How, sorbet?
You might be wondering. Well, I'm glad you asked. Toasty, can you show our guest that image we took of our survivor friend earlier? In this photograph, our survivor friend is attempting to hide from our immediate view. We've rendered this photo using medium graphic settings and we want you to find him. Have you found him yet? I'll give you a couple more seconds. Did you find him? If you did, leave us a note down below and tell us you found him in your first attempt. Now, we're going to show you the scene again, but with our survivor friend wearing gear with no skins. You ready? Toasty, bring up the photo. Did you find him? We'll give you a couple more seconds. Nice! I bet most of you found him in one of those photographs. And to prove we've not removed him from the image, here's the same photo marking where he is. This is the power of pay-to-win skins in Rust. For a while, this system of camouflaging yourself was not so bad, but with all the other things that are plaguing the wasteland, this one has never been fixed. In fact, Facepunch has decided to lean into this pay-to-win mechanic more and more. You can make your sheet metal doors look armored, you can wear a complete set of blackout gear so you can hide more easily in shadowy areas of rooms, and with the release of the new Frontier hazmat suit, you can completely disappear in the trees. A lot of what Toasty and I talk about in these chats can be pretty controversial, but I think I speak for the majority of us when I say we don't want pay-to-win skins in Rust. I mean, this is supposed to be a hardcore survival game, is it not? The 2022 weapon changes has discouraged fair gunplay and many players have turned to a campy style strategy that is sometimes called grubbing. Sitting in a bush, in the corner of a monument, or in a thicket of trees is becoming a popular and I would say an even more effective way of doing PvP. Why take your chances of missing AK shots when you can pay $10 for some camo skins and wait for players to walk in your kill range? Now, I'm not saying I support this monetization tactic. In fact, when I purchased the clothing skins for our survivor friend to wear, I felt a little part of my heart die for the game. I don't want to support a company that is okay with monetizing their play race in such a scummy way. Oh, and by the way, I know these skins aren't required to buy to compete with other players. I know it changes about 10% of every engagement you take in the wasteland, but it still doesn't belong. I didn't come to Rust hoping to have to buy more skins on top of the game and the PC to run the game. But you know who isn't afraid to feed the developers more money? Hackers. That's right. I bet you didn't expect Toasty and I to be talking about hackers in a chat about pay to win. But it's true. Hacking is still a pay to win strategy that, more than ever, still exists in Rust. In the past, hacking was unpunished because Rust relied mostly on server admins to ban them. But today, if you have the money, You can buy hardware that lets you bypass most, if not all, of Facepunch's efforts of ridding their game of cheating. D.M.A, or direct memory access hacking, is a very big problem in Rust today. People like to say that cheating in Rust has always been a problem, and that its biggest problem with cheaters came in the form of aim scripts. But I severely disagree with that. You see, when people say that a lot of people are using scripts to counter the AK recoil prior to 2022, I always question, how do you know these random players in the wasteland were scripting? But if you look at someone who is using D.M.A hacks, although they may be able to bypass Facepunch's anti-cheat most of the time, it is a lot easier to tell if someone is wall hacking than aim scripting. Someone who is wall hacking may be perfectly mirroring someone or pre-firing or holding odd angles, whereas an aim scripter can only be detected if you are watching their first-person view or the anti-cheat picks up their use of scripting, such as the players who are getting banned from Counter-Strike for using wooting keyboards. Today, if you really wanted to, you could get in contact with a cheat developer and do some real damage in the wasteland. But why isn't this problem fixed, you might wonder? Why doesn't Facepunch create a better anti-cheat after more than a decade of existence? If the problem has been this rampant, why don't they fix it if they have the resources to do so? Now, I'm not going to throw out accusations just yet, but it has been brought to my attention that Facepunch might not want to fix it. Why though? Why wouldn't Facepunch want to fix this problem that the player base is having? Well, simply put, cheating players brings them more money. You see, like the pay-to-win skins from before, if a player is already willing to invest in a good PC that can run their game, Facepunch stands to make money when these cheaters have to purchase the game again. If they get banned, they can make a new account, buy the game, and run their cheats again, and again, and again. I mentioned this in an earlier chat, but I almost went down the dark rabbit hole of cheating in Rust. I wanted to enjoy being out in the wasteland again, and since I didn't enjoy the changes the developers had made to the game, I thought, why not give this game one last go and really go all out? If I wasn't gonna play Rust anymore, why not just cheat on the way out? At least I'd be enjoying the thing I paid for already. And so again, from Toasty and I, thank you for showing up for us. If it wasn't for you all who join us, we'd probably be in a more bitter spot than we already are. We hope to bring change to the wasteland in a positive way. That way, we can all enjoy this thing we love doing. Gaming. A survivor left us a note in regards to our chit-chat about the World Update 2.0. This survivor wrote, "This video honestly just sounds like someone that is salty about the recoil update and they wasted 3,000 hours on aim training servers. The only good point you made was about the cheaters. The game was not about recoil." Thank you for your note. Before I go into depth talking about the cheaters that you mentioned, I just want to say that I mastered all of the recoil patterns within about 100 hours of training. Since the recoil patterns were the same over and over and over again, they were really easy to learn. I believe that the average person could learn every single recoil patterns with 3 months worth of regular training every single day. They weren't that difficult to master as long as you had a good PC, a good monitor, a good mouse, and enough mouse space to be able to control all of the recoil patterns. The only one I would say I had trouble with is the M249. If you wanted to learn the recoil patterns, you could have done it too, with about 1 to 2 hours of practice every single day for a couple of months. Now, to go back to your point talking about the cheaters that I mentioned in that video, I was referring to the nakeds who were running around with DBs. I'm not saying that everybody who is running around naked with a DB is cheating, but I was referring to players who were looking a little suspicious with their movement, running into monuments with no regards for their own safety. On that point, we agreed. Later in your note, you said that the game was not about recoil, and I don't recall anywhere in the video saying that the game was entirely about recoil, but I did mention that a lot of players who were playing at that time came back to the game because the recoil was so fun to learn and master. There might have been a minority amount of people who said that the recoil took too much time and effort away from playing the actual game, but if you had put just a couple hours into practice even in regular servers, you will know that the recoil was actually not that bad. It's like riding a bike. If you could learn to ride a bike once, you could do it over and over and over again, because for the most part, fundamentally, it was exactly the same exact thing. In Counter-Strike, mastering the recoil pattern might be a little more difficult, because the bullets don't always go exactly where you want them to. The pattern might be the same, but there is variation in where the bullet goes. We have this now in Rust, and we call it aim cone, or as I like to call it, Bloom. Toasty and I hope to deliver some big projects for you all in the future. Our recent one was not our proudest, as we had promised a documentary-style full wipe gameplay. But since we don't have the hardware to edit and render such a project, we've been looking to alternative means of production and have decided that we will be investing in a proper workstation PC in the future. It may be a couple of months before that happens, but we'll let you know as soon as we're in the process of getting it set up. We don't want to deliver any more half-finished projects, and we want to give our most dedicated guests the things they want. Again, Toasty and I see all of you who leave notes on a regular basis, and you are the ones we do this for. We don't care about the number of guests who come to visit, we only care about whether or not you want to come back. Thanks for coming, stay safe out there, and stay frosty!